Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Rock Force. In the last part, I completed the intro stage and defeated Virus Man. Now with his shield, which Robot Master should I take on next? Crypt Man. Why, you may ask? Mainly because his special weapon is very useful for collecting a lot of E-tanks. And I didn't want to go after him first, mainly because of two certain sections in the stage, which are very annoying even on normal mode, but on hard mode, they're a nightmare. Those hands are almost instant death traps. They take a quarter of your health, so I decided to instead ram myself into those miners so I take less damage, and abuse invincibility frames. Now, I would have gone after the stage first, but because of those two sections I didn't. But trust me, the Crypt Man's weapon is useful in many different areas. And no, I can't get that E-tank yet. I need Fuse Man's weapon to actually get that, sadly. But there are enough E-tanks in this game for the maximum amount anyway. There more than enough to go around. And there I forgot to move out of the way. Make sure once you pass over them completely, they'll drop bombs at you, so make sure to avoid them. Those raiders will drop from the ceiling. If you shoot them once or go under them, they'll immediately drop. Those enemies from the bottom which are flashing, once you jump over them, and they'll rush above towards you, and if you hit them or hit by them, they'll explode. So be careful about their explosion radius. Also another clever use of reflecting shots. Ooh. The first section I was talking about, which is actually quite dangerous, is coming up soon enough. These Batons are still in the way as usual. And here's the section I was talking about, the first part. Note those birds dropping bombs at the top. Oh, those resulted in so many of my runs being ended or getting thrown into a pit. Combined with the mets at the bottom, those objects that rush to the top, it creates a huge hazardous area, as if you get hit by the explosive radius, you'll be knocked back, and when jumping over these pits, there's a very high chance you'll be knocked in, or take a lot of heavy deal damage. And unfortunately I don't have a weapon yet that can deal with the mets to their shields as easily. Though the virus outbreak, or viral outbreak, has the ability of deflecting some of these shots, so that makes it much easier. Well, not deflecting, absorbing. Anyways, might as well read the Crypt Man's description as per Mega Man Knowledge Base. Crypt Man was created to repel grave robbers from the ancient tomb of a wealthy family. Visitors have noted that he seems to dislike the depressing atmosphere of his workplace and longs for a more uplifting purpose to life. His eloquence and nobility are well known, which is why he serves as main spokesman for the rebels. Despite this, he prefers to work in the shadows and hates when light sabotages his stealthiness. Since his recent refusal to work, the ancient tomb has become infested with many dangerous teeming robots, though many booby traps are still active. So yeah, as those raiders are basically are thieves, and all these booby traps are basically all these enemies. The most annoying segment of the stage, the most annoying and dangerous, is coming up right about now. Now, as you saw earlier, there was the Cerberus mini-boss, which I was able to defeat with the Mega Buster. But here, I didn't want to risk anything, so I decided just to abuse the viral outbreak, which is very useful for these types of situations, as it doesn't take any energy if you just use it once. It only uses energy when it hits a target. And once it does, it only takes one point of energy. And the fact that you can expand it to hit these targets in a distance makes it extremely useful. And if you expand it large enough, it can actually just absorb the bomb explosions, which makes traversing through these areas much simpler. Over here, I'm trying to be very cautious when transferring over here. The main thing about hard mode is that it increases the frequency of these bird spawns, so be very careful while traversing through this. That's why I took the Vile Shield, Virus Outbreak, so I could absorb these shots. Another extra life. And we're coming up to the boss gate. Now the interesting thing is that, unlike his stage, Crypt Man is much easier to deal with. So yeah, it's a form of boss dissonance. Now, as the description said, Crypt Man is noble enough to actually give us a life tank if we are not at max health. Anyways, Crypt Man has 3 attacks. After each cycle of attacks, he teleports from one side of the he disappears and teleports from one side of the room to the other. Or some part. One is which he teleports in and jumps onto the ground, slams it, and creates a shock. Another one is when he jumps onto the ground once, twice, and tries, releasing different levels of shockwaves, as demonstrated right here. But the third level has 2 shockwaves, but the third time has 2 shockwaves, so be careful. The other one is that after he cycles through it, he raises his cape slightly to his arm, which signals that he'll be ramming towards the side of the room he's pointing towards. But other than that, he's not that hard. He's pretty nice as a first boss, but I wouldn't suggest going after him first, mainly because of how difficult his stage is. Boom! He's down. Overall, Crypt Man's stage is very dangerous to go, especially in hard mode. But Crypt Man himself isn't too much of a hassle. And there's Nightman. And by defeating Crypt Man, we got the Crypt Cloak. As demonstrated here, the Crypt Cloak turns you invisible, and when you jump onto the ground, it releases shockwaves in both directions. The main usefulness is actually twofold. For one, it makes you invisible to enemies, so they will not react to you. This includes a lot of different things. And, of course, it allows you to stand on certain blocks. Anyways, now that we defeated Crypt Man, we might as well go after the next easiest robot master, Shockman. And yeah, we already fought him before in the first stage, but now time to go to his stage formally. And to be fair, this stage is basically the intro stage hard mode, with a lot more electric panels. Now those bomb enemies from the top, they only appear in hard mode, if I recall correctly. Now those panels in the bottom, with those electric symbols, they'll release an electric pulse once one of those jumping enemies jumps on them, or those electric orb thingies release their electric bombs on the ground. Make sure to jump before it flashes, otherwise you'll take some damage. As demonstrated right here. Now, as I was saying earlier, the main helpful use for using the Crypt Cloak is that it makes you invisible, as well as making you be able to stand on certain blocks, which a lot of E-tanks use in this game. Here's the mini-boss. To defeat it, you basically need to shoot at the center and avoid hitting that rotating turret. Now I decided to speed up the process and use the Viral Outbreak, mainly because it fires 2 types of shots. One's in 8 direction, the other one and 3 shots towards your current position. And make sure to fire those those types of enemies once they come towards you and start moving, otherwise it'll affect your first shot. And these wire type hazards will extend forward so you can traverse over them, though it'll release a small electric pulse towards that direction. So make sure to jump over it. Now over here, I kind of activated the Crypt Cloak a bit too early, but basically, if I activated it early enough, that wire wouldn't have extended, and I would be able to just take the tank easily. Here's the hard way of getting it. Anyways, might as well go over Shockman's description as well. Actually, wait. We're coming up after the next D-tank. Here you can only access it using either the Crypt Cloak or Charade Clone, but I believe it's the Crypt Cloak only. Anyways, time for Shockman's description as per Mega Man Knowledge Base. Shockman was the lead robot at Monsteropolis's main hydroelectric plant, and served to temporarily bridge circuits that needed repair. He is capable of conducting and producing shocks of extremely high voltage, which made him incredibly dangerous in his rogue state. After his manufacturers repaired his defects, he was sent back to work, though many humans that worked alongside him became uneasy when he returned. Ever since, he has longed to pursue other lines of work, or simply be scrapped, since he now lacks human friends and no longer enjoys his job. Anyway, in this area, the water gets electrified at certain periods based off those posts timing to the ground. The main hazard there is electricity and those jellyfish dropping bombs. Here's a funny trick. Normally players would have just taken the right ladder, but this ladder is barely visible at the bottom floor, so you can just jump directly on it. More shield attackers, as annoying as usual, and those red blocks are in hard mode, so we can't just slide under them, unfortunately. Or we're in an easy and medium difficulty, we could just bypass them entirely. Same as above. And we still don't exactly have a weapon that pierces through the well, we sort of do have a weapon. The Crypt Cloak's shockwaves will pierce through the shields, but because they're above, it's not exactly practical. Plus those boxes on them. And once again, I'd like to give thanks to Goldwater and Kevin P for providing so much awesome music for this game. I love all the tracks of this game. They're all very catchy, memorable, and even if they're not exactly Mega Man-y in some regards, they're very memorable and all are catchy in their own ways and provide their own unique themes. Anyways, we're coming up to the home stretch. And the most dangerous section of the stage, though with careful jumping, it isn't too much of a hassle. Overall though, this is a good first stage to go through as a new player, mainly because, well, and this and another certain stage, mainly because of the hazards being not too dangerous, as well as Shockman himself being relatively simple to understand. Just avoid getting shocked by these middle panels at the bottom. If these wires connect to the shock panels, once the current travels to the wire, it'll transfer over to the panel itself. So be warned about that. Just restocking with Eddie. I forgot to mention, but basically, Mega Man starts out with Rush, Eddie, and Tango. Rush being Rush Coil, Eddie being the item dispenser, and Tango being a certain weapon. Anyways, here's Shockman. Time to fight him formally. The first attack which he showed is when he does 3 mini hops, which electrifies the floor at the bottom. Please note that every time Shockman hits the floor, he'll electrify it, so make sure to jump over it. His second attack here is when he shoots his arms out on the left and right sides of the room and fires a set of 3 or 4 shockwaves to the right, left and right. So make sure to jump over them as they're quite damaging. This attack is when he hops 3 times, and his final attack is when he raises his hand to the ceiling and fires 4 electric bolts to absorbs 4 electric bolts, which electrifies the floor. But other than that, under those 3 sets of attacks, he's relatively simple to get through. That's why I suggest going after him first. Though his weapon, I would say, is medium usefulness, which we'll get. Hey there, Electman. Fitting, really, as this is an electromagnetic plant, so electricity Electman. Anyways, we got the Shock Gauntlet, which demonstrated here can pierce through certain enemies, as well as collect items. Though its main weakness is that if the Shock Gauntlet is fired too far away, gravity will take hold and it'll fall down, which makes it kind of difficult to use in some regards. Though it can pierce through certain walls if you're close enough. Anyways, now that we have defeated Crypt Man and Shockman, we've defeated the easiest robot masters, and now it's time to go after the medium level ones. Next time. Thanks for watching, viewers, and have a nice day. Doodles!